interesting people, one grumpier than the other. Okay, so we have, not you. Rio Helmi is a grumpy man, one of the most phenomenal photographers and champions of culture. And come on, you'd be nice. Just be nice to me, Rio. You're one of the first people I met when I came to Bali. Be
I'm not even
nice.
going to say good evening.
And where's our beautiful Flora? Come on. You sit here. Flora, come in there.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
We're going to start with the lovely lady first. So,
Please, yeah, I'll just listen.
because you're grumpy, you are going to be second. Okay, so we have the wonderful Flora, soul sister, soul sister. So Flora Christian, okay, she is an oceanic fireball, as we all know. Okay, in 2016, she could hardly swim, and surfing was only a dream. So she decided to go on her hero's journey. Um, At that time, she was what, 23 years old? She left her city of Jakarta. She's from Sumatra, by the way. She's a Sumatra goddess. And she left her job in human resources that paid her lots of money, lots of security, took off for 2 years to travel around Asia and land in Bali to make that hero's journey change. I mean, not many people can do that. So she is from Sumatra. She is now a professional surfer, the first Indonesian longboard surfer to compete internationally. She is also making an amazing documentary. And with that, we go straight into storytelling. She's making a film. That's storytelling. So tell us, let's go to the storytelling. Why?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Flora Christine, and I'm a professional longboard surfer. And first of all, I would like to say congratulations, Indosol. And back in the beginning of my surfing journey, Indosol has always been part of my journey. And for my first international competition in Japan, Indosol actually helped chip in some money to fly this girl to Japan to start her hero journey. So after almost a decade of being in the industry, I finally realized it's the time for me to make a move. As with time, I finally find my purpose in this industry, not just to be that girl on the billboard. What is the purpose? And the more I dig in deeper into this career and traveling around the world, traveling around Indonesia, the more I realize that my woman, Indonesian woman, needs help. Not all of these Indonesian women surfer are very fortunate to have the opportunity that I get to experience. I am very fortunate to have the education background. I'm very fortunate to have the um, experience that I experienced in Jakarta, working in this big international company. I know how to work the industry. But my women, all other Indonesian surfer girls all around Indonesia, some of you might never heard of their name, even though you're in the surfing industry. So yeah, that's my purpose. So, at the moment, I'm working on a script with my sponsor Roxy to capture them. I'll be traveling into their village. I'll be serving with them in their lineups and show the world that my woman exists. These girls, they need our help. They need our supports. And hopefully they can continue my legacy and keep paid forward, because that's how I make my way in this industry because all the supports from everyone that I met throughout this journey.
Amazing. Amazing. So it makes me think about, like, we all come from cultures where women had to prove themselves much more than the men. I come from that community too. So how, like, I find it fascinating because how is it that it's women who usually take up this, the motivation is much more with women to look out for women. Do you feel that there are men who would do the same? Not even just for women, would they do that for even the men folk?
I really think the times is changing. Like back when I started, I only knew a few people in Canggu, and one of them is Adi. Thank you for coming. He has always been my biggest support since the beginning of my career. And Deva, who is filming right now, I used to know him since he was a little grum, and now he's making a career out of a camera. And well done. I
What a concept.
so the more I come to, like, the further I go with my surfing journey, I see more men actually make effort. When I started surfing, no one would call me into waves. But then, with the power that I have, I show the men in the surf, we also exist in this water. You should include us too. Like when I serve in Lombok, when I serve in Sumba, all around Indonesia, people will look me down. Oh, you're a woman. You're not supposed to be out here. And I confronted them. Look, if you're pushing your blonde woman into the waves, me too. I deserve a place out here. So does my other woman.
Bravo, bravo.
Like,
I have a question. So, was that mainly Indonesian men or Western men?
all men, by all means.
Shame on us. Shame on us.
But I must say, it is slowly changing now. Like the more women out there in the lineup, the more we speak up, we get some sort of like a higher equality in the water. Especially when I'm around, my girls will get their waves, will get their share because you know what? Everyone is the same out there in the water. We are all the same. We are out there in that moment to just catch that one wave.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's why the documentary, when it comes out, we will be the biggest supporters because this is exactly what she's challenging, the status quo, and she being the spokesperson for young women across Indonesia to go into the water with confidence and take that step because that is about building an inner power, an inner independence that's irrespective of the male paradigm, of the father figure, and all the things that we've been so indoctrinated. And I know that for a fact. Am I correct?
Correct. But again, I must say it is slowly changing and we should celebrate the change.
I agree. And we will celebrate the documentary when it comes out.
What's
Thank
it
you,
called?
Banana.
Do you have a working title? Do you have a title for the documentary?
Still don't find out the name. I'm gonna come out with something super Indonesian just to show my woman. So yeah, stay tuned.
Okay. So now, I have the most difficult person. Rio is a grump, and he was one of the first people I met when I came to Bali because there was
That's
some.
why I became grumpy.
I don't know what it. Sophie, you're going to be sitting here soon. Watch out. Um, so Rio is one of the most incredible erudite cynics that you can imagine. He has seen too much, and I love the story that I heard about him when I came to Bali, which is here's this photographer who wakes up early in the morning and sits on his bike, and he's got a fancy bike, by the way. It's a BMW parked outside. Um, and he would just drive out and take photographs. He just wanted to do it. That was the story I heard about you. And I was like,
I
"Oh."
still do that.
So we have a very complex topic to talk about. And please chip in because God knows how long this is going to be. So I didn't even make questions. I just sent him notes. I said, let's try and discuss things because he's a amazing photographer who believes in he has a what I call an analog state of mind. I mean, he can use digital, but he has an analog state of mind. And so my first point of discussion with you is about authenticity and artificiality. Like, where do we draw the line when it comes to photographs, especially in this age? Authenticity versus artificiality.
Are you going to name the demon here, or are you just going to leave
Well,
it?
the AI photos, and then
Okay.
there's
Well,
you.
first of all, I'd like to an interesting thing. A good friend of mine, who I've known since she was a baby, Mila Schweiko, she said to me, AI is a misnomer. It's actually a large language method. So what it is, it's not intelligence. It's something that is being trained and accumulated. It's accumulated knowledge. And I think this is something which, in response to your question, I think that it's quite evident to most seasoned photographers, especially those who have worked in analog like I have. I mean, well, I have to admit, I have about a 50-year career behind me, 45, 48 years. And I worked in analog exclusively, and I swore I would never touch digital until I couldn't avoid it. And I don't know if I ever told you the story.
You never, because then
Okay,
you,
so I actually am a disciple of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I actually often have audiences with him once a year.
and he's
One
a
year,
monk for a long time.
one, no,
You told me that.
no, I never.
You told me that.
No, you haven't made it up. But so one year, this was up in Ladakh in Kegompa, very high up. I went to see him, and I came in, and he said, I brought something from Dharmasala for you. And I thought, okay, And he tells his assistant, he brings out this box, and it's a little Fuji digital camera. And I'm just so stuck. I sworn I would never use digital. And there's my guru who's just like, Bhagavan is giving me this digital camera. And I'm like, okay, now I'm stuck, And I took a picture of my friend who came with his mother to see him because they wanted to have a picture with him. I took it with this digital camera, okay? And then, that was it. And I didn't take it with I had my own analog camera, but the menu was all in Japanese. And I formatted that picture by mistake, and my friend didn't talk to me for about 3 months. But anyway, coming back to this whole thing about artificiality, when we talk about honesty, okay? When we talk about honesty, I think here the key thing is honesty. And one of the things that artificial intelligence doesn't have motivation. Yeah, it doesn't have feeling. It can register emotion in the sense of understanding that there is an emotional, for example, in music and stuff, but it can't feel it. And one professor got his students to have dialogues with, and serious dialogues, musicians and so forth. And one musician asked, do you feel any emotion? And the machine, the artificial intelligence responded, I can note that there is an emotional quotient, but I cannot feel emotion. And then he said, well, why can't you feel emotion? And he said, because I don't have a body. And I think this is a fascinating thing, because in Buddhism, we talk about our experiences, which are the body and the feelings and so forth, and emotion. We receive them, if you like, as a result of what we call karma. And one of the most important quotient of the factors of karma is intention. Right. It's the intention when you act. And this artificial intelligence cannot do. It does not have intention.
So what I find very perplexing and questionable in many ways with well, all the kind of content that's being created artificially, right? And by the way, who's creating the content? It's human beings who are using the apps, the machines, the technology. So we are still, as human beings, orchestrating this alternative universe. So I always wonder about like what in the coming generations, what will they think about, let's say, history? What will they think about? Because the documentation of what is historical that is happening now is a version of a version of a version. So you can take a photograph and rework it and whatever. So we are getting a version of. So what happens to collective memory about our past? What's the authenticity of our history, our legacy? Because you can keep tweaking it. We can keep tweaking it as versions of a version of a version, but never the original. And who is going to dictate what is original and what is not?
I think one of the things that's really, I think, Sophie, don't make me nervous. I told her, you make me drive all the way down from Beijing, an hour and a half on my bike for 20 minutes of stage fright, okay?
Indosol did that, not me.
But, okay, this is actually a really important question because when people say, you know, there's a big discussion in the document. I'm a documentary photographer, and I kind of bridge across to art, and the big question always in the documentary photography world is, you know, you take the picture as it is, and if you manipulate it, it's no longer a documentary thing. I'm sort of halfway there. I think that you don't change the content of the picture, but you can present it in a different way because everybody sees something in their own way. And the idea that a photograph is objective is flawed. It's subjective. You choose your angle, you choose your moment, you choose the feeling. It's a human response. And that human response is recorded. I mean, when we're talking about history, I mean, honestly, the first time really that photography was used to document history was probably in the Crimean War. And you had also the Civil War. And those pictures were taken on, you know, I mean, they're analog, but they are then scanned.
So, okay.
But
Hold on. So I'm thinking, like, you know, talking about history books, especially if you came from different parts of the world that was colonized, right? India, Indonesia, you name it. And I read my history books that were all written by colonizers. So the perspective was already skewed. So only now, in my old age, thanks to Google and YouTube and whatever, I'm like, wow, there's another perspective to the history that I learned in school. So in many ways, I feel photography is going through any kind of content that is visual, that is a part of our documentation of our past, of our current situation. It, it's doctored to an extent, almost to the point where technology has become the colonizer now.
well, nowadays, yes, very much so. I mean, it's a big issue. You know, there was a LA Times photographer who was actually fired for doctoring. They were both his images. This is the interesting thing. They were both his images, and they were both taken in the field, and they were both, you know, real pictures. But he chose to take some part of that picture, of one picture, and put it into the other one, and he got fired for that because, you know, it was considered to be not. He wasn't being honest. He was, you know, he had doctored the picture, although they were both his pictures. But the thing about history, this is a really hot topic right now because history is always written by the winners, always. And, you know, when I went to an American school for the first time in my life when I was about 10 or 11, you know, the history of Asia was presented to us that you know, it was the Spanish and the Portuguese who discovered Asia, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck? You know, we've been here for a long time. You know, like, oh yes, and you know, and so their history of Asia begins with, you know, the black ships to Japan and all this stuff. Like, hey, you know, the Chinese, you know, double, triple decker boats coming down to Sumatra, going all the way across. The Indonesian sailors coming from the Bugis sailors going from Sulawesi, going all the way to Madagascar. They had, you know, Indonesian queens. I mean, histories, and now we have the weirdest thing. I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but the Indonesians amongst you will be aware of it. But our minister of culture, who is, I have to say the word, he's a sycophant. He's somebody who really just kisses Prabowo's ass. He is in charge of rewriting school book texts, history texts, to reduce the, I mean, you know, it's basically he's been charged with toning down all the human rights transgressions that happened, all the stories that happened in '65, everything that happened in '98, all these things. And he came out with a statement. He came out with a statement in '98. There was no evidence of mass rapes, and I'm sure all the Indonesians here know this story. And you know, it's such a shocking thing, just blatantly. And of course, you know, the irony is that, you know, is that, I hope I don't get arrested, but the irony is that our president is actually was one of the biggest human rights transgressors. At one point, he was not even allowed, he was persona non grata in America. Now we're going to rewrite history. And we have images. I was in Jakarta during that time. I was actually documenting some stuff. We have images of this. There are photographic images. Now, the role of AI now, with the role of AI, from one part, I mean, whatever you know, it is directed by human beings. And in the end, one of the most important final goals of AI is to generate income. You know, or make a pretty picture, wonderful picture, blah, blah, blah. And you look at it and you go, oh my God, you know, AI. Okay. But somebody who doesn't know will end up buying that. NFTs, you know, endless.
Well, NFTs was something big. Now, do we even talk about it? You know? So, okay, so let's just go back to thinking about, does this whole thing about doctored images, um, fabricated stories, all of it, will it then push us towards something that is more authentic because it has its fault? You know, it has a human touch, the wabi sabi, that you're going to love something because it is not perfect. So, with all this bullshit about, you know, everything doctored and fancy and AI and what avatars and what have you, do you think that there's going to be a pull towards authenticity that is based on human flaws?
I think, you know, you can. It's kind of romantic. You can say, oh, well, people like flawed things as a human thing, but basically,
It's real.
don't be grumpy. Like, I just, I just want to say is that what we're talking about really is a human response, whether it's flawed or not response, and that is you can feel it. It's palpable. When you have a machine, you know, generating something or an app generating something, it doesn't have, as it said to this musician, it doesn't have a body, it doesn't have feelings. So it's simulating. All it's doing is simulating. And it's designed for perfection. Okay? So, okay, fine. But but what is really the important thing in all things like making movies, making you know, is authenticity. When you look at AI has a role. I think that AI, if it's used in a very interesting way, you know, you can actually have a dialogue with it. You know, and some of these students that the professor Graham that he sent out, they actually had some really amazing insights back from the AI. You know, which that insights about how thought processes work and stuff. And I sent this off to Mila, this article, and she said, "This really makes me feel good for the first time about AI." And I said, "Why?" Because it's not being just regurgitated. So when you have these AI photographs that go out or images, they're just regurgitations. The interesting thing about, you know, AI is that it can make you
So
go
that's
further.
to my point, that when I see flaws, then it's not AI. When I see the human touch, then it's not AI. When I see a perspective that is not fabricated to perfection, then it's not AI.
Okay,
So
I'll give you
basically,
that.
I beat
I'll
you.
give you that.
I beat you. I mean, well, on that note,
She's always very difficult.
by the way, I didn't read out his very profound resume that I was meant to. Would you like me to do that now?
I don't know. It's
But
been
everyone
embarrassing.
knows you. Everyone knows you. But thank you. So we have a young storyteller, very optimistic, doing a beautiful documentary. And then we have, the wise. The wise one. Who's the wise one from Star Wars? Yeah. There you go. The wise one.
The little guy. The little guy.
Thank you so much. We love the character. Oh, thank you. It's way
Okay.
past bedtime, and he's been killing me
you.
over this. Two, actually. Oh,
Thank you very much, everybody.